He doesn't just watch the market, he is the market. People give him equity out of respect. In his last life, he was himself. He is the most knowledgeable man in the world.
I don't always invest, but when I do, it's in the future. Stay dangerous, my friends. Welcome to the Wealth Mindset with JD Garnier. I hope you're having a productive week in your wealth creation journey. Listen, my goal is simple: to help you walk in wealth, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially, to take the things that God has already given you and use those to create a life of purpose, so that wealth is more than just what you acquire. Wealth is who you become. You are the wealth. It's not your investments. It's not your real estate. It's not your business. It's you. Before you have any of those things, you have a unique and specific set of talents, abilities, gifts, ideas, habits, disciplines, and inclinations that form the basis of everything that you do in this world. And once you tap into that, you build wealth in your life. So again, you are the wealth. Listen, man, what is the plan? I keep hearing the same talking points. I keep hearing the same statistics. I keep hearing the same explanations of our condition. The question is, what do we need to do? I don't hear anybody coming up with specific solutions of what we need to do to change this situation. Right now, as a community, we own 3% of the wealth in this country. Our median net worth is 10 times less than that of white families. Our median income is 7 to 9 times less than that of white families. We have over 2.6 million businesses in this country, and 95% of those businesses are single owner businesses, meaning they're owned by one person. That means that the value of our businesses are tied up into the life of one individual. So what is the plan? How do we change all of these things? How do we close this racial wealth gap that they are telling us it is going to take 300 years to overcome? I don't believe that. I believe that we have the resilience, the opportunity, and the mindset to change the wealth gap in one generation. We just don't have a plan. And so since nobody wants to offer their ideas or suggestions, I'm going to tell you what the plan is. There's 7 priorities that we need to have as a community to change our conditions, to become economically independent, and to close the racial wealth gap. The first is we need to refinance our debt as a community. Historically, as a community, we pay higher fees, higher interest rates, higher costs, and higher penalties on all financial transactions. We have huge amounts of debt in our community, and the interest that we are paying on that is sucking away at our discretionary income. I don't care if it's local, payday, or rent-to-own lenders, if it is vehicle loans or home mortgages or even bank interest and fees. For whatever reason, we pay the highest cost. And so collectively, we have to have a plan to refinance our debt. We need to refinance our debt so that families aren't paying 15, 20, 25% interest on things that are depreciating assets. That by itself is going to free up large amounts of discretionary income in our communities. If you have an extra $4, $5, $6, $7, $800, $1,000 a month because you're paying less fees and interest, that is money now that can go towards your future. And so as a community, we need to have a plan to refinance our debt. I know when I was in college, not even a week out, they were getting me to sign up for credit cards, encouraging me to utilize interest that was in the double digits, and nobody ever really even taught me about what I was doing. And so for 2 or 3 generations, we have repeated this cycle of massive amounts of debt at huge costs, and it is costing us. All of the money that we pay towards interest and fees is money that we can't use towards our families, towards our interests, and towards our future. And so collectively, we have to have a plan to refinance our debt. Now, most people would say, okay, well, we need to improve our credit scores. That's absolutely true. We need to focus on black banks that will help us. That is absolutely true. The one other idea that I will add is we need more black credit unions. Most people don't know that the difference between a credit union and a bank is that a bank is a for-profit organization. Credit union is a nonprofit organization. A bank takes their profits and gives it to shareholders. Credit unions take their profits and use those to reduce fees, costs, and interests so that members can pay less on the financial transaction. Typically, banks cost anywhere from 100 million plus just to start. You can start a credit union with as little as a few $1,000,000. Banks are huge financial transactions that normally take huge corporations to back and fund. Credit unions can be funded by local churches or nonprofit organizations. I'm saying this because we need to be thinking strategically. Banks are governed by the laws of FDIC and the federal government. Credit unions abide by a completely different set of laws, so they are not bound by the same as banks. And so they have the opportunity to offer better rates, lower fees, and provide financial literacy and education for their members. And so it's very important that we have a plan to refinance our debt in our community and support localized, unified financial institutions that can help our communities and not these huge institutions that go and suck us dry. And so that's the first thing that we need to do. The second thing that we need to do as a community to close the racial wealth gap is we need to have an HBCU financial literacy push. The same way that they flooded our colleges and made us sign and get credit cards when we were in college, we need to have that same action plan to encourage our young people to open investment accounts, Roth IRAs, and life insurance. When you come out of college, you have your entire life ahead of you as far as earning potential. At a minimum, you are worth $1,000,000 to somebody. You are also at your healthiest, most insurable time, and it is as cheap as it is ever going to get. And so our children need to be graduating college with not with debt, but with a tax-free investment account like a Roth IRA and at least $1,000,000 in life insurance. This guarantees a generational wealth transfer. Because if just 1 million people have $1,000,000 in life insurance, that is $1 trillion wealth transfer to the next generation. But we have to start young and we have to start early. I had $1,000,000 worth of life insurance before I was worth $1,000,000 because I understood that it is a tax-free transfer of wealth. Many of my clients who are worth millions of dollars still use life insurance as leverage to leave even more. And so we have to get out of the scarcity mindset of just having life insurance to bury us or just to pay some bills and look at it as a wealth transfer tool. And if we push those things on our universities the same way they did credit cards, then our kids are graduating now with assets and with value. And so there needs to be a sweeping, cohesive push on all of our historically black universities for our children to be saving, investing, and preparing for their futures financially. That's number two. The third thing that we need to be doing to close the wealth gap, and this is probably the most urgent, is child literacy. The most recent statistics show that 85% of our children cannot read or do math past the sixth grade level. To me, that's one of the most alarming statistics because this world is changing at a rapid pace. And if we're not preparing our children, then everything that we're fighting for, they won't be able to benefit from. If you cannot read or do math past a sixth grade level, the world is going to pass you by. You're going to relegate yourself to unskilled labor and you will spend the rest of your life trading your time for money. And so to me, this is a pandemic because we are letting 85% of our children go through school without any real opportunity because they can't even do the basics. And so, what is the point of us passing laws and fighting for any kind of justice if the next generation is not going to be able to benefit from it? And so, we need to have a plan to teach our children the basics and to increase our literacy rates so that they can have an opportunity. Because once you get relegated to skilled labor, there's a cap on your earnings for the rest of your life. So, we need to be educating our children. We need to be doing it in the homes. We need to have other sources, whether it's churches or local organizations that are supplementing our children's education outside of school. We cannot just depend on the school boards to do it. We see what the results are. And so it's really on us to figure out a way to educate our children because a 10-year-old child today in 10 years is a 20-year-old voter. And if we are not preparing them today, then we will not own the next decade. And so we have to be vigorously figuring out a way to educate our children and increase our literacy rates. They don't want you to know how to read. That's just a fact. Because then they can't fool you. They would prefer that you depend on whatever they tell you. But that's not how we're going to change our situation. And so we need to be focused on preparing and educating our children. The fourth thing that we need to do as a community and as a priority is protect and preserve what we have. So many times I see clients pass away or I see families die and the assets get sucked up and squandered by taxes, by lawyer fees, and by families fighting over assets. And so what's happening is the next generation has to start over from scratch. People like Chadwick Boseman or DMX or Aretha Franklin or James Brown all died without a will. Hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, squandered away in taxes, attorney's fees, and penalties. And the families have to start over from scratch. As a community, we have to protect and preserve what we have. That starts with the wealth creator. If you're a wealth creator, if you're the person in your family who's achieved some type of financial success, you're the person that people depend on, it is incumbent upon you to protect and preserve what you have. The goal is to create a vertical pipeline from generation to generation of wealth. If your parents are fortunate enough to still be alive, we have to make sure that their affairs are in order. Whatever land that they own, we need to make certain that it is going in a pipeline vertically from generation to generation, and it is not at risk of being lost. 50 years ago, we owned 7 times more land than we do today because we sold a family land. We've given away grandmother's house. We've allowed people to come in and take assets from us. That needs to stop today. We need to stop the bleeding. We need to protect and preserve what we have. That means you need to have a will. That means you need to have life insurance. That means if you have any kind of considerable assets, those assets need to be titled properly and they need to be protected. It doesn't make sense for us to keep doing all of this if the next generation is going to keep starting over from scratch. And so we need to stop leaving them debt in a hole that we've dug, and we need to start leaving them steps that we've built to get them to the next level. And that needs to be a cohesive effort. We need to protect and preserve what we already have because they trying to take it. The next thing that we need to do as a community is we need a research sharing database. It's too many independent Black churches. There's too many independent Black nonprofit organizations. There's too many independent things that are happening and nobody's talking. Nobody's connected. Our networks are individual. And so we're not sharing resources. We're not even communicating. There is no cohesion among what we're doing. We're just doing one-off missions to help ourselves. We need to be more sophisticated with it. There's no reason why large organizations like the NAACP and the Urban League or even local churches should not be communicating and sharing information and resources with one another. It's some neighborhoods I drive in, it's 10 or 15 different churches just in one neighborhood. They don't talk to each other, they don't communicate. One church may have all the resources and another one may be struggling. We need to be sharing information. We need to be sharing resources, and we need to be figuring out a way to communicate amongst ourselves. It's the only way we're going to get stuff done. Everybody's trying to save the world on their own. It's not going to work like that. We have to find a way to share, bounce ideas and resources off one another. The next thing that we have to do to close the racial wealth gap and to improve our situation is vertical integration. It's something called the velocity of the dollar. It talks about how long a dollar stays in a community. For the Black community, it's only about 30 minutes. For the white and Jewish community, it's anywhere from 17 to 20 days. Now, some people may dispute that, but I think it does say something. What it says is that money is not staying in our community long enough for us to see a benefit of it. And a part of that, obviously, is us endorsing and supporting Black businesses and buying among one another. But the main reason why I believe money doesn't circulate in our community long is because we're not vertically integrated. Most of our businesses today are at the retail level, right? We sell a burger, we sell apparel, we sell shoes, we sell something, and then we get the retail profits. You sell a t-shirt for $20, you get a $4 profit. Who's getting the other $16? The company that ships the t-shirts, the company that prints the t-shirt, the company that manufactures the cotton, the company that produces the buttons. All of those different companies get a piece, and we just getting what's left over. And so in order for us to get a bigger piece of the pie, we have to vertically integrate. We have to own manufacturing companies. We have to own natural resources. We have to own land that produces the cotton, right? We have to own businesses up the supply chain so that we can get a larger and larger piece of that pie. So that when you sell a $20 t-shirt, you're getting a bigger bulk than just the difference between all of your costs in that last markup. We have to vertically integrate so that we have our own insulated system of needs. Because if I'm selling t-shirts, I'm still dependent on a company that manufactures that's outside of my community. I'm still dependent upon this shipping company that's not in my community. And so everybody's getting a piece of what we do, and then we get what's left over. Vertical integration allows us to insulate our needs and self-fund ourselves. It's very important that we do that. There's no reason why we shouldn't own the land that produces the cows that's distributing the beef to all of the Black restaurants around the country. Vertical integration. That's how you get economic independence. And the last thing that we need to close the racial wealth gap, change our situation, and free us from the victimization is something that I call unconscious cooperation. I've said this before, but it's a reason why we have to say buy black. It is because subconsciously we don't automatically think to buy black. And so we have to, with repetition, remind ourselves that we need to support one another. You don't have to see Asian people saying buy Asian. You don't see Hispanic people saying buy Hispanic. They don't have to talk about it because they have unconscious cooperation. It's already ingrained in their culture. It's already ingrained in their understanding. And so there's no reason for them to encourage something that is already a part of who they are. And so for us, we have to get to a point where we don't have to talk about it because it's just who we are. We have to be unconscious in our support, in our respect, in our admiration, and in our encouragement of one another. It has to be automatic. It has to be unconscious. I have to be able to see you and have never met you before and know that we are on the same page. Know that I'm going to look out for you. Know that I'm going to take care of you because we have unconscious cooperation. Then I never have to say buy black again because it's just who I am. If we can do those things, if we can have a plan to address all of those things, I have no doubt in my mind we can close the racial wealth gap in one generation.
If God is for us, then who is against us? Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and take the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and take the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top. Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot. Buy back your block, real estate and stocks. Stack what you got, hold down your spot. Strike while you hot and think the man up top.
Conspiracy or not, strategize and plot.